and then Clive gave us that long contract and gave us everything we needed. And that's when the promoters, like cats like Bill Graham and all of them, let us work with different acts. And Clive wanted us to play with those different acts, you know what I mean? And then we would do R&B shows, we would do shows like that and college shows.
Right.
But we definitely had our share of those pop groups.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Hold on one second, I just want to check to make sure I'm not going to be mad that this thing is not recording. Right. Hold on one second, I just want to check.
We would do R&B shows, we would do shows like that, and college shows.
Right.
But we definitely had our share of those.
Yeah, we're good. Just make sure nobody's, you know that funny cell phone sound that comes on sometimes?
Of those pop groups.
Right.
You know what I mean?
My name is Marcus Miller. This is Miller Time, and guess what? We're talking to Verdine White, and man, I'm telling you, man, I could go on for hours, and I'm trying not to, but this stuff is so interesting to me, so incredible, because to hear that you guys actually were human beings that had to start like everybody else starts, instead of, you know, by the time I came on the scene, man, you guys were earth, wind, and fire. You know what I mean? I remember seeing you, Verdine, in a lobby in New York at a studio called the Hit Factory. You just waiting on the elevator, and I was surprised that you took elevators. You know what I mean? I assumed that you just, you know, did like Earth, Wind, Fire does, just levitated up to the 5th floor.
Right, man.
But it's just incredible to see that you all started as an opening act, you know. And tell me, the Columbia records.
Right.
Okay, which was the first Columbia record?
Last Days and Times.
Okay, who played sax? Was Ronnie Laws in the band?
That was Ronnie at the time, Roland Batista, and what happened with Last Days and Times, as I told you, I found my own space and I needed love.
Yes.
But from Last Days and Times on, that's when Maurice had us participating as writers.
Okay, so up until then, Maurice was the primary writer. He was
with
created
the other group, Wade Flemings and all of them. But when that came, he threw me in the pot. You know, started writing.
Yeah.
By then, actually, he wasn't like telling me so much what to play.
Yeah.
We just was doing it then.
Right.
And then I had to help, you know, form a group with him. The new group that brought Philip Bailey and Larry Dunn.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
So there was an original Earth, Wind, and Fire, and then there was a transition.
That's
along
right.
with this move to Columbia.
That's right. And for like 6 months, it was just me and Reese. You know what I mean? Trying to figure out what it was. And then I met Philip. We met Philip, and then Philip came with us.
Where did you meet Philip Bailey?
Philip was in a group that was opening for us in Denver.
Okay.
The old group.
Okay, he's from Denver.
From Denver, right. Him and Larry Dunn.
Okay.
And what happened was it was down to Philip and a young gentleman named Carl Carwell.
Wow.
But actually I didn't see Philip sing first. I saw him play congas first.
Okay.
At a club in 23rd Street East.
Okay.
And so we said, who should we get, man? Should we get Carl or Philip? I said, get Philip. I said, because he's a great guy.
Right.
Because I had spent time with him.
Okay.
And we had hung out.
Right, and that's important, isn't it?
Yeah, it was great.
Especially when you're forming a band.
Right.
You guys have to actually feel something for each other.
Right. And then he was a musical director for a girls group called the Stovall's.
Okay.
So I'd go see him, and he said, come see me play at this place. I'd go see him, and you know, and then we were the same age.
Okay.
So I had somebody my same age I could talk to.
Right, he was younger than Reese.
Reese, right, because with Reese, you know, when it's older, there's a gap there.
Right.
You know what I'm talking about? You
Yeah,
know,
sure.
Even in like conversation.
Yeah.
Because you're not hip enough.
How you kick it, yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, so I could kick it, man, like, you know, you want to go eat? So
Yeah.
you go eat, man. I mean, check out, I got, you know,
Right.
I play harmonica too. I said, you do? I do
Right.
this, man. You know,
Yeah.
and that's what I do. And so Philip and I sort of had the same career trajectory as age-wise.
Yes.
So, and then that's when Bob got Clive.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? And the producer at the time was was a guy named Joe Wizard.
Okay.
Who was at Warner's, and he
Okay.
came with us to Columbia. Reese hadn't started producing the record yet.
Okay, who was producing it?
Joe Wizard was, but
Joe.
really it was Reese's concept.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You know what I mean?
But they wanted to give a official quote-unquote producer.
Right, because
to
don't
make
forget
sure.
now, you hadn't had African Americans in big studios like that before.
Right.
The only African American producers you had really was Berry Gordy.
Okay.
because he owned Motown.
Right. And he was a producer because he owned the actual label.
Right, exactly. So that was Reese's, but he was really directing it.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
And Joe was just there to just kind of make sure everything.
That's right. Make sure they tell the label these guys on time they're not burning the studio down. You know, just stuff like that. You know what I'm saying?
Well, when he was how was Reese in the studio? Was he forceful? Was he subtle? What was his manner? How did he get you guys to do what he wanted?
He was subtle, laid back. You really didn't even know you were recording.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right. So you all would just be rehearsing stuff while you're in the studio.
Right.
Didn't know that the record button was on.
Exactly, and he's playing drums, so he's fiery on drums. The cat that was forceful was Charles Stepney.
Okay.
Because Stepney was older than Reese.
Okay, hold on 1 second.
Okay.
Okay, this is Miller time. I just want to make sure everyone knows who I'm speaking with. This is Verdine White from Earth, Wind and Fire. His older brother Maurice just passed last weekend. It's a huge loss for the music community. But we're talking about Earth, Wind and Fire and talking about their origins. And you just mentioned the name Verdine that I don't think a lot of people know about. Okay, his name was Charles Stepney.
Right.
Okay, and this guy, can you just tell us who he was and how important he was?
Well, he was Reese's friend from Chicago, and he had done all those records on chess. Great writer, great producer. The person he discovered was Minnie Riperton.
Yes.
He was great piano player. He played with Eddie Harris back in the day. And then Reese brought him on. He did the Mother's Nature Son album.
Oh yeah,
with Ramsey.
That was a great album. Yeah.
That's Charles with the arrangements.
I see. Yeah.
You know, and
he's an incredible arranger.
That's right. Reese brought Charles, and then Reese brought Charles with us. You know, to help him on the first record. You know, with the arrangements. You know what I mean, and things like that. You know, and Charles was a big brother father figure for us. And
you said that he was forceful in this.
That's right, he was forceful. Okay, we're gonna do this here, we're gonna do that there.
Right.
You know what I mean? And Reese would just lay back. And he would call Reese Tones.
Yeah.
On there, you're gonna do that there, you know what I mean?
Right.
And then Charles did the Last Days and Times album with us. Head to the Sky we did ourselves. But Charles did the Open Our Eyes, That's Where the World, Spirit album. Those albums was what he did with us, and that's really where we honed it with Charles.
You can really hear his touch on those albums.
That's right. And Charles really was our George Martin.
Yes.
Our Quincy Jones, you know what I'm saying? You know, and ironically last night they had this thing on Michael Jackson on Showtime.
Okay.
That Spike did. And so I was in it, right? And so the Jackson was talking about when Michael was getting ready to go do his record, one of the first producers he was going to get was Reese.
Okay.
Maurice White.
Yeah.
And Reese was going to bring Stepney with him. But they got Quincy.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And of course Quincy's a big fan of Reese because they're really coming from the same cats.
Sure, yeah.
Strong jazz background.
Strong 360-degree concept is what I call it. But yes, they were absolutely cut from the same cloth.
Right. So Charles really was really a major part of our sound.
Yes.
And he was good for us because he was older than Reese. And then when we record the tracks, we record the tracks. And after a while, we weren't even paying attention to the red light no more.
Right, you got comfortable. They created an environment where, because a lot of musicians get nervous.
Right.
Even great musicians, when that red record light goes on, they get a little nervous.
Right, because what was happening is, Reese would say, man, we're making albums.
Yes.
So we could make a mistake, go back, check it out.
Yeah.
Like Step would say, you know, if you mess up, just keep going.
Yeah.
I'll come back and get you.
Yeah.
You know, stuff like that.
You go back and just punch your little mistake.
That's right. And we would cut all our tracks. And then Step would take us individually, so I need you Tuesday, bring a lunch. And I would go through the whole album with him. You know, just to go through all my parts.
Listen to the bass parts.
Right. But in process, we would talk about music.
Man, I wish I could have been there to sit with you and Charles Stepney listening to every track, just the bass parts.
Right. To go over stuff.
Analyze it.
Right. And then he was the first one to show me a double stop.
Two notes at the same time.
Right. I said, what's the double stop? Give me the bass. And then he would say, man, play some Stanley Clarke stuff.
Right.
And then we talked to me about Paul Chambers and Ron Carter.
Wow.
And we would talk about music.
Yes.
And he was the first one that turned me on to Paul Robeson.
Really?
Charles did it.
Wait a minute, man. So, Shining Star. Okay. The bass line in the chorus. Boom. A beat, boom.
Right.
A beat, boom. Nobody was playing bass like that. I mean, no R&B, no soul bass player was really playing the high note first and then dropping the low note.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like you did on that. So did Charles have an influence on that?
Right, because he said, because I would say, Charles, can I play you something? Play what you want, as long as it feel good.
That's what he said?
Right.
Play what you want.
And because that's all thirds.
Yes.
The bingo,
Right.
the bingo, the
Right.
bingo, the
Right.
bingo. And because I was listening a lot to Stanley,
Yes.
the school days.
And he was a master of those thirds.
That's right, because remember School Days came out?
Sure,
Because I
yeah.
listened to School Days. Remember they used to play the albums on the radio for free at night in college. So I listened to School Days. I think he had a tune Lopsy Lou.
Yes.
And I think
that had thirds in it.
right.
Yeah.
And then what happened was and Charles said, "Oh, that sounds good, man."
Yeah.
And then so on the chorus, "You're a shining star," that's when I put that in there.
Man.
And then-
Does Stanley know this?
I don't know, man. I think so. I gotta tell Stanley.
All right, he's gonna be very proud of that. But
And down the group, bing, and we sort of said the one,
right,
the one,
right.
and where we got the one from was that we did this gig with the Funkadelics.
And they were heavy on that one, weren't they?
They tore us up, Marcus. They tore us up.
What, they tore you up?
Tore us up.
Funkadelic?
Tore us up.
What year are we talking?
72, 73 at the Armory,
Yeah.
DC.
Yeah.
They tore us up. Tore us up. Man, let me tell you something. Me, Ralph, and Philip, we can tell you what the groove was. If you counted the groove off,
Right.
we would tell you, we would know. We still remember that groove. And so Reese,
One.
man, we got tore up and we came back and Reese threw us in rehearsal.
Really?
Yeah, and so to get that one right.
Wait a minute. Wait. What song is Earth, Wind, and Fire? I'm thinking Power,
Right,
right?
right.
That has that heavy.
And so Charles put the sophistication on it.
Yes.
You know, and the strings around what we were doing.
Right.
And because Charles, and by then we were on, man, I was on my 5th, 6th, 7th album.
Right.
So by then, I was locked into my style.
You knew who you were.
Right, and it was just us creating now.
Yeah.
You know, Reese didn't even look at it. We didn't even look at it as a session. We were sort of like the way the Beatles was doing Sgt. Pepper.
Right.
You know, most sessions were like 3-hour dates.
Right.
Trying to get 3 tunes in 3 hours. Gotta get out of there, right?
Yeah, like the official recording session.
Man, we were 12, 13, 14 hours.
Just hanging out.
Just hanging out in the studio. We would
Right.
listen sometimes,
Yeah.
take it back home.
Yeah.
Then we go in and play for a minute.
Mhm.
We might play 4 bars.
Right.
Just to get the concept and how it sound.
Yeah.
Then we said we're gonna go all in.
Really?
Right. And then, you know, then that's when you were cutting the tracks.
Mhm.
And then sometimes we said it don't feel right, we'll come back tomorrow.
So you guys obviously had enough of a budget
Oh,
to be able
most
to
definitely.
afford to use the studio time.
There
like
was
that.
never an album that we didn't ever spend $1 million on.
Really? You guys spend $1 million on your albums?
Yeah. Well, all the time. I think, man, we most budgets was like $250, $350.
Right.
But we used to spend $800,000, $900,000.
But you know, it's really interesting. That's really interesting because, you know, jazz, there was, you know, it's never been a huge money maker, you know, and so when the jazz musicians went in the studio, they had to live with whatever it was because they didn't have enough money.
Right.
The budgets weren't big enough for them to afford to go back and try it again, you know, and you guys were one of the first bands where you could listen and go, man, they worked on this, you know, they took their time.
That's right.
There's stuff in there that you go, like the break in Getaway, the little keyboard.
Right.
What?
And that was Reese. Dagga, 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 bang.
The one.
Right.
But man, that just doesn't happen. You just don't walk into the studio and play that.
That's right.
You guys went, I'm sure, I'm telling you, like I know, but it seems like you guys, you know, you were living together. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah,
you
we
were
was.
trying things.
Yeah, and he was, don't forget now, and Reese had George Massenberg.
The engineer.
Yeah, so sometimes George, man, would just work like mixing guitar parts for like 2 weeks. Just
Yeah.
on guitar
Yes.
and on bass. So he was Reese's Bruce Swedine.
Right.
What Quincy, you know,
Yes.
and so sometimes it would take Reese, man, 3 or 4 months to mix the album.
Mm.
And then he called me. He said, "What you doing tonight?" I said, "I'm cool." He said, "Come on, let me play some stuff."
Mhm.
And Reese never see the way Reese worked because he was the producer.
Yes.
Later, you know,
Right.
he didn't really let everybody hear the final result.
Mhm.
Maybe me, definitely me.
Right.
Philip sometimes,
Right.
because he was singing with him.
Yeah.
But I would always hear it, you know, what he was doing. You know what I mean? After he got it done.
So
I mean,
what was it? Because I get the idea, I get the feeling that you guys were in the studio overdubbing parts.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like there's more than one guitar part. You know?
Right.
Sometimes I heard you playing 2 bass lines.
That's
on the
right.
same record, you know. So you guys don't know how it's all gonna
That's right.
come out until Reese invites you to hear
Until,
this.
right, exactly. Then he might edit some things.
Yes.
He might cut up like on Fantasy.
Yeah.
And it goes and one.
Yes.
It was another chorus.
He cut it out.
He cut it out.
So you guys were like actors who do all the separate scenes.
Right.
But you don't know how the director's gonna cut
Exactly.
it all together. So you go to
Exactly.
the premiere and go, oh, that works. So, oh man,
Exactly.
I didn't know it was gonna be like that.
Exactly. So that's how he would do his thing, because he was creating. You know what I'm talking about? Now, mind you, Reese didn't sing when he was with Ramsey.
Okay, so this is Verdine White who we're talking to. This is Miller Time. My name is Marcus Miller, and I just want to make sure I keep reminding people what's happening, you know, because sometimes people are driving their car and they turn on the middle of it.
Right.
You know what I mean? They go, wait, who's that man? Because they sound like they know what they're talking about, you know?
Right.
But tell me about Reese and his singing, because you just mentioned that when he started with Ramsey, he played with Ramsey Lewis for 5 years, and he wasn't singing.
Not at all.
So how did he become Maurice White, the vocalist?
Man, I just think with him, man, he just woke up one day and did it.
Really?
Yeah, because what happened was he told Ramsey he was going to start this group. He had a video, because he wrote it out on a napkin on the plane. And I'm going to put this group together. You know, like do all kind of music, fly through the air, all that kind of stuff.
Really, he had the whole conception of Earth, Wind and Fire.
That's right.
At the beginning.
Yeah, exactly. And then Ramsey said, Raise, go to bed, take some aspirin. Because I think that Ramsey thought Reese was going to do like the Maurice White Trio.
Okay, got it. Right,
right. You know.
Because that was what he had been doing.
That's right. And with Ramsey, people forget that Ramsey was one of the most successful.
Yeah. Hang on, Sloopy. Yeah, he was big.
And they were selling out concerts all across the whole country.
So Ramsey figures if Maurice is going to go out on his own,
right,
he's going to replicate that success that he had been a part of.
Exactly. What he did, man, he grew some sideburns, a goatee, bell bottoms, and he flipped the whole thing around.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So it was a totally different concept.
Tell me about Keep Your Head to the Sky, which is one of my favorites. And just, 2 nights ago, when Maurice passed, man, my wife put that song on loop and was singing every line. You know what I mean?
Right.
So you guys, how did that song happen, man? I mean, first of all, who wrote the song?
Maurice did.
Maurice wrote it.
He wrote it in the back of the van. We had a Ford green van. And it was on a Sunday. And we were going somewhere. And we had saw the Jacksons.
Yeah.
They were on their way to a concert, you know, in a big stretch limousine, because they were like the Beatles.
Yeah.
We hadn't happened yet.
Right.
And so Reese he just wrote the lyrics. He wrote the lyrics. And I just sat with it. I didn't say anything.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because you could hang out with Reese if he was working, you just couldn't say nothing.
Right, just stay out of his way.
Just stay out of his way. You know what I mean? But he let me hang with it.
Yeah.
Because I didn't, get in his way.
He probably liked your energy, man.
Yeah, man, because I could just sit, you know what I mean? And, or I'd lay on the couch while he's waiting and say, man, check this out.
Yeah. Right.
And I said, oh, that's cool, man. He said, I'm going to try this,
Yeah.
And he said, don't go nowhere, don't go nowhere. Don't go nowhere.
Yeah.
And then he came back and did the chords. And then we did that, and then the intro, he put that on last.
Okay. The intro
that wasn't
came
there.
last.
That intro came in the studio.
I see.
You know what I mean? So that's
what about that cool bass note, man? What in the world were you thinking about, man? To play that note?
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Right, exactly.
Did that happen during the take, or did you get the idea after you heard the song and said it needed?
It happened during the take because I was trying some different things, because I used to listen to Willie Weeks a lot.
Yes.
And he did a lot of those great things.
Willie Weeks tore up a live Donny Hathaway album.
Oh, man.
Yeah. What was the name of that album? Just Donny Hathaway Live?
Live.
Yes.
And it was at Troubadour.
So he was an influence of yours.
Exactly, because they were from Chicago too.
Oh, of course, that's right.
And then we went down to see Freddie play at the Troubadour.
Right.
Because we were still getting together.
Okay, yeah.
And Freddie was 16.
Okay. Yeah.
So we went to see him play.
With Donny Hathaway.
Right, exactly. And then we went to see Donnie, because Reese knew Donnie.
Right.
Everybody was tight, and then
Sure.
and then Donnie was one of Stephanie's proteges.
Wow, so this was a whole Chicago family.
Right, the Chicago thing. So we went down there at the Troubadour.
So wait, you went boo-doo?
Right.
Because every bass player, myself included, we had to learn how just the idea of just shaking that note like you do.
Right.
Where did that come from?
Man, just like a vibrato.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Like a violinist or something.
Exactly,
Yeah.
because I studied with Louis Satterfield.
Yes, the
You know.
bass, the great Chicago bass player.
Exactly, and he was also our trombone player in Phoenix Horns.
Right, that's right.
And I studied with him, when I was a teenager. So he would show me all those different things. And actually, I made a lot of shortcuts. You know what I mean? Because I'd go to the sessions and watch him play.
Right.
So when I got my chance, I would try different things.
Different things that you'd seen, and
Yeah, and
Stanley Clark, Louis Satterfield,
Right.
Willie Weeks.
and it was and it wasn't like stifling. We were creating. I mean, actually, Maurice insisted we create.
Yes.
It wasn't like don't play no sound like a student musician, man.
Right.
Do your
That's what he
thing.
said.
Yeah.
Wow. So
Yeah.
he created an environment of creativity.
Exactly. So what happened is he said I could write my notes out, and or if I wanted to read certain things, some things I'd read, some
Right.
things I wouldn't.
Yeah.
Some things I'd just
Yeah.
just like write the notes out.
Yeah.
And then sometimes when I overdub, I'd start with the bridge.
Right. Let me get the bridge right first. I don't have to worry about that no more.
Yeah, because sometimes there might be a lot of inside notes.
Yeah.
And sometimes the bridge felt better to start with than the tune.
Wow. Yeah.
And so Stepney would let me, start with the bridge.
Right.
And then Reese would say, well, man, I said, I'm gonna start with the bridge. Cool. So Reese actually broke a lot of the rules.
Yes.
And made us break a lot of the rules without even knowing it.
What about there is the original Earth, Wind and Fire, Warner Brothers. Then when you guys signed to Columbia, there's a new Earth, Wind and Fire.
Right.
But there's another chapter that I think starts with maybe All in All. You know what I mean?
Right.
But I want to, your audience, okay, because you just mentioned to me just a few days ago that All in All was like a whole nother level
Right.
for Earth, Wind and Fire, which happened, what year was All in All?
77.
77, okay. But in my neighborhood, I grew up in the hood in New York, in Jamaica, Queens, New York, you guys were already huge stars, like in the black community, with records like Keep Your Head to the Sky and Africano and That's the Way of the World. So what was different about All in All?
Well, that was the first album that Reese had produced.
Okay, All in All.
Right, because Charles Stepney had passed in spirit.
What year was that he passed?
76.
Okay, Charles Stepney passed in 76.
And so what happened was the burden was on Reese. And then what happened was Reese had started a production company, Columbia Productions. So we were producing, we started being producers too with other acts for Reese's label.
Yeah, you guys, the Emotions?
The Emotions, Reese did the Emotions, and we was always on all the Emotions tracks.
Yes, that was all you.
Right, Best of My Love, all that stuff. You know what I mean? That's all us.
That's why we have all these gold records lining this room, y'all, because not only did Earth, Wind and Fire make records, but they began with Columbia Productions.
That's right.
To produce other groups like
Right.
Emotions.
Emotions, Denise
Williams.
like Free.
I Just Want to Be Free.
That's us on
Yes.
that. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah, we knew you guys.
Yeah.
You guys ruled the world, man.
Yeah.
I mean, you turn on the radio, you can hear 5 songs in a row.
Right.
Earth, Wind and Fire, Denise Williams,
Exactly.
Ramsey Lewis.
And see, we would be working every day. So
Yeah.
we say, okay, today's EWF day.
Okay.
Today Emotions day.
Wow.
Today is Denise,
Yeah.
So